flying skulls were flying in my room, and I was totally screaming and everything else. Then I was coughing. My mother comes in and she gives me a teaspoon of poison. She wasn't paying attention. She was half asleep. When she realized what she did, she made me throw it all up. So, so many scary things happened to me. Nothing happened to my parents, nothing happened to my sister, or my brothers, or anything. Everything happened to me. So, when we finally moved away from that house, I kept on thinking when I got older, was that childhood nightmares or did that really, really happen? So I started reading a lot of books on the paranormal. I never knew I was going to become a paranormal investigator. I got into the Army. I worked with CID, Criminal Investigation Division. I was working undercover narcotics with the drug suppression team. Then I got into military intelligence. I had a 3 year break from there. Got into military intelligence. I was a 97 Bravo intelligence analyst. And there at the Photo Interpretation Center in Korea, I learned that the military was still investigating UFOs. And even though Project Blue Book shut down in 1969, I discovered on one particular day 6 photographs that came in. And these 6 photographs were different pictures of UFOs. And on the back of the photo, it said intelligent movement. And I looked at the photos, and they were part of a bigger picture. We had reconnaissance satellites and reconnaissance aircraft, and they took video footage of these UFOs. Like one picture was something that was disc shaped, another one it looked like ball lightning, another one cigar shaped. And they had video footage from our reconnaissance satellites of these photos. And so I knew at that point in time, being in military intelligence, that we were not alone. There's something else out there.
Wow.
Let me ask you something.
That's amazing.
Look, you have a lot of experience, especially with the military and what you've done. Do you think that we're just not being told everything? Like,
Oh, absolutely.
because we have satellites in the sky, and the pictures that we see. Now, I do believe in UFOs. I'm a firm believer in it. But the problem I'm having is, why are these pictures so distorted? Are there authentic pictures with clarity that maybe you have seen that the public is just not seeing? Because the footage that was released last year on Fox News through our military, it's distorted black blob that you see floating. It's very fast, but you really don't know what it is. And then some people say, well, it's an insect. It's just, it's nothing that, it's bugs on the screen, for example, which I don't believe. I do believe that they are out there. But how come we're not seeing that clarity? Because they're keeping it from us?
The clarity isn't happening. Like the 6 photographs that I saw, they weren't clear. They were blurry. And the reason why they're blurry is because each UFO has a type of field, a magnetic field around it. And that magnetic field that it has helps it go from point A to point B in the universe. So it's like going through a wormhole or going through a black hole maybe. And it's like taking a piece of paper, on one side says A and the other side says B. You fold it in half and it comes together. And that's what's happening because of that field around the UFO causes a distortion in the photograph.
Okay, that makes sense. Do we have alien beings in Area 51? And well, not now, because now it's open to,
Right.
they said it's real when they were denying Area 51 for years. But do we have, and does the government have them in their possession or had an alien being that supposedly was caught during the Roswell?
Okay. When I investigated Area 51, of course, I didn't go inside or they would have arrested me or maybe even shot me. I mean, there's definitely big signs there that they will shoot if they see you on that property. But I went up as far as the gate. Um, a couple of my investigators claimed that they saw a UFO over on the hillside. I didn't see it. Um, when I got up to the gate, I did notice there was a man and an army jeep or an Air Force jeep or whatever, and he was over on the hillside. And I was looking down with binoculars, and he was looking at me with binoculars. And then he took off. He had a sniper rifle, and he pointed it at me. I said, "It's time to go." But one of the things I like about investigating is I get to interview a lot of people. And the people over at the Alien Inn allowed us to camp out right in their parking lot. And I got to interview a lot of people there. One person that I interviewed claimed up and down that a type of saucer type craft flew towards her, and at eye level looked at her. There was a pilot in there that looked at her. It was a human pilot, and he waved and he flew off. And she swears up and down. And then there was two other witnesses that claim that they saw the UFO that she's talking about that actually came to eye level. Do I believe that there's alien bodies over at Alien 51? I absolutely believe it. There was one person who claimed that he worked at Area 51, and he says there's a lot more things going on over there. And I pushed him. I said, "What else?" I mean, I said, "Do you know that if there's alien bodies there?" He says, from the information that he received from other workers who worked at S4, I think it's the same place that Bob Lazar worked at, claimed that there was alien bodies there. But he also too said that they work on time traveling. So that was kind of interesting. And then he wouldn't elaborate anymore because, just like me, I'm not supposed to be telling you everything that I know about those six photographs, but I do. Because if I'm lying, okay, I would think that they would come and arrest me. I mean, if I was telling the truth, they would come and arrest me. So no one's ever arrested me. So way they put it out there, hey, Paul's just making up some stories, but I'm not making up some stories. I actually saw those six photographs.
Does the
Wow.
president, do presidents know what's going on? I know Obama came forward about 6 to 7 months ago, and he did truthfully say on national television that there are things that we just don't know what they are. Now, is he telling the truth, or do they know what it is?
I believe that a lot of the Republican presidents know what's going on. Democratic presidents don't seem like they know what's going on. I mean, like Bill Clinton, he was talking to that little boy and he says, "Hey, I don't know if they have UFOs over at Area 51, but I want to know." Okay, I really don't. I really believe that Clinton didn't know, but I believe Eisenhower did. I think Eisenhower actually, just by talking to different military intelligence people, there was a certain higher up that I talked to, claims that Eisenhower may actually met with some Nordics, and that contract didn't go well, and so they took off. And then the Greys came, and he made a contract with them to get some of their technology, some of their advanced technology, and also too, um, he would allow them to have what is called angel stops. And angel stops is where UFOs are able to abduct, the aliens are able to abduct humans to experiment on their DNA, to work on hybrids. And Eisenhower made a contract with those Greys. And what happened was the Greys started over exceeding their abductions, which caused some skirmishes with the military and the Greys. And that usually, some of the skirmishes that happened were over at Dulce, New Mexico.
Okay.
Interesting.
Wow.
So there's probably a higher form of government. Um, but then let's talk about
A shadow government.
the shadow government. So let's talk about the stealth that we had. I mean, they denied the stealth, and then 10 years later, it was that they said, no, this is what we have. This is the new bomber that we have. So is it possible, which I don't think, that any government, China, Russia, or the United States, has technology that we just don't know of?
Um, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of technology. Let's say what the Russians have. That's why we're constantly spying on them. We have reconnaissance satellites to just see what they're up to. There are certain hangars that are being built over in Russia, and we're trying to. When I was in military intelligence, we were trying to figure out what's inside those hangars, and what they would be very smart. They would wait for an overcast day, which there's a lot of overcast days in Russia, and then whatever in that hangar they can bring out, do whatever they got to do, fly around and bring it back into the hangar. So there's a lot of stuff the United States doesn't know about Russia, and a lot of stuff that Russia doesn't know about the United States, because we do the same thing.
Right.
If they're taking pictures of certain hangars, and right now, Area 51, they have this one photograph done by a reconnaissance satellite of a new hangar. And what's in that hangar? We don't know.
Wow.
That's interesting.
Mm.
I mean, like I said, I'm a firm believer in this. There are stories, then there's fabricated stories, but there are authentic stories of people saying, no, I've been abducted in time. But here's a question for you. And I asked it previously on another show, and no one can give me an answer. So I'm going to ask you, how many forms or races of other beings do you think there are? There's the Greys. About how
Right.
many? 10
Okay.
other species?
Greys, Nordics, reptilians, a whole variety of different ones. Um, the last time I looked, there was a list of, I believe, like 16 of that have visited Earth. I mean, um, if you look at it, I mean, even like Mothman could possibly be an alien.
Yes.
Yeah, or an interdimensional being.
So
I,
is it because they have some kind of technology? Because my question is, over New York City or Los Angeles, how come if the government had a contract with the Greys, for example, and there's 15 other species or races out there of these beings, what's stopping them? Do they all have contracts not to show up in New York and Las Vegas over us and say, here we are? Do they have contracts, all of them? Or is it possible that they have a technology so far advanced that you just don't see it?
there's talk that they have a galactic alliance. So all these different type of aliens are all working together, and there's one type of alien who oversees the whole thing, and you can call them the Watchers or whatever. And I really believe that it's been going on for a long, long time. I'm a definitely a believer of ancient aliens. I believe they kick started the human race. Um, there there's mythology about, a god bringing fire to man and everything else. I believe those are all type of things. I mean, even like if you look at the story of Noah's Ark, and they say, okay, there was different animals brought onto the ark, and male, female of any type of animal, but that would be impossible. That would be a huge ark. But if you look at it a different way and you look at the Sumerian clay tablets, the Sumerian clay tablets talk about an ark. And this ark was carrying DNA of different animals. And that makes more sense than bringing two giraffes, male and female, two hippos, male and female. They brought the DNA onto the ark to save all those animals and people and everything else.
Kind of makes sense.
Definitely
Yeah.
makes sense.
I think it's fascinating. Do you think that they walk amongst us, aliens?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Um, there's a lot of talk about different type of aliens like reptilians who can change their form into something that's human in appearance. So yeah, absolutely. I think they do walk among us, and I think there's definitely a lot of hybrids out there. And if you look at it from the beginning, we are hybrids because, like in the Bible, it says God made man in his own image. Well, sounds like they're experimenting with DNA and they made Homo sapiens, and Homo sapiens are part alien and part human.
Hmm. Wow.
Interesting.
That's
Mm.
what do you
Yeah,
think about that?
I think it's interesting. I think the pyramids weren't built by man. There's even new documentaries coming out that if they were half an inch off at the bottom, at the top, the whole thing would be off. So, and we
Yeah.
couldn't do that. I think it's fascinating.
I want to get into the paranormal investigating.
Yeah.
You made you're the founder, and you founded it. You founded the team in 2004, correct?
Right. Halo Paranormal Investigation. It actually had one owner, and it was kind of funny because this one owner, he would set up investigations and then didn't show up. And then when you got to the place, nobody knew about the investigation. It was like, what? What's going on here? So he got fired from his own group. Then another person took over, and she got involved with other type of stuffs like a vampire ball and all this other stuff. And I became the general manager, and then I became a co-owner with my wife. And so we now run the group, and it's very successful. We do Roman Catholic house cleansings. We do full submersion baptisms, which is a basic form of exorcism. So if you have a demonic attachment, I actually give you a full body, full submersion baptism.
Wow. Now, do you think that your career in the military helped you like really understand the paranormal too, as well?
Well, I actually utilize certain things from military intelligence. And I'll
Mhm.
tell you one of the things that I use. Remember, I told you about those photographs, and on the back of it said intelligent movement? Well,
Yes.
I utilize that for orbs. Yeah, orbs could be almost anything. It could be skin flakes, it could be dewdrops, it could be light refractions, lint, whatever. But if you can show that that orb has intelligent movement, then I can deem that as paranormal. And I'll give you a case example. We got to this one investigation where Emily the ghost was draining the energy of the occupants of the house.
Okay.
So one of my investigators, he looked at me, he goes, Paul, he goes, I feel really drained. My energy is low and everything. I need to sit down. I said, sit down. And then I had two of my investigators with cameras. And I said, Emily, if you're doing that and if you're listening to me, I said, you must like him. I said, kiss him on the lips. And we took a picture. All three photographs from three cameras had a picture of the orb on his mouth. I
Yeah.
said,
Wow.
oh my God. And I got all excited. And I said, okay, Emily, listen to me again. I said, if you like him, I said, I want you to sit on his lap. And with only one camera this time, I snap a photo and the orb is hovering over his lap. And
Wow.
so something like that, I said, that showed intelligent movement. So what I do now is I'll go on an investigation and I'll put my hand up against the wall. And I said, if you're listening to me, appear by my hand. And, and if the place is truly haunted, I'll get an orb right on my hand. There you go. Yeah.
That's
Yep.
amazing.
Yeah.
So orbs is an essence of us in some kind of form when we cross over. Is that the belief?
Right. Like my mother, I always believed that she was psychic because she was always seeing ghosts. My wife, she's psychic. She sees ghosts and everything. Okay. I don't really see ghosts. Yeah, I was lucky. 2,000 investigations, and I've seen 4 full body apparitions, and that's very rare. And if I was psychic, I would see more ghosts, but I just don't. Um, Now I lost my train of thought. What were you asking me again?
Well, the orb, that's a
Yeah.
part of us when we cross over, like the soul.
Yeah.
Oh, right, right, right. That's back to my mother. Okay, so my mother, one of her first ghost stories to me when I was a little boy, she said that she saw a little orb in the bedroom, and that orb manifested into a little child holding a basket of roses, and petals of these roses would fall to the floor and dissolve as the little boy approached her. And as she grew older, she found out that little boy was a little boy saint. So that was kind of odd. But I always thought, I go, okay, it appeared as an orb and then it manifests. And then I
Mhm.
talked to a lot of other people, and they said that before it manifests into a full human, it's an orb. So the orb starts changing shape and everything else and becomes human like.
A ball of energy, and then
Yeah.
it manifests into, and that's
Yeah.
very, very hard for that to do. I mean, to see that,
Yeah.
like you said, he's seen it 4 times. To see a full body apparition
Yeah.
is amazing. So, during all these investigations you and your team have done, have you ever gotten an intelligent response asking the spirit, "Where are you?"
Some of my other investigators have asked that question, and they get like really sarcastic answers. So
Yeah.
it's it's like when they tell me, I just don't really believe it. It's like, okay, they're making that up. The ghost is playing a
That's
joke on you. Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, they don't explain nothing to me. Yeah.
I've spoken to spirits years ago with friends doing things like the Ouija board, and first you debunk it, and and all that stuff. But when you really get down to some intent and truth, we did get an intelligent response, and one of the spirits says, "I'm no different than you, just that you
Yeah.
can't see me. I can see you, I can touch you, I can feel you, I can hear you." So it's like being just walk. They explained it like walking out of your body. And they proved it, not just said it through a Ouija board, but they actually proved it. The one spirit told us where they were buried, how to
Mhm.
find them in the cemetery because there was no stone, because they couldn't afford a stone, the
Yeah.
family. And they guided us through the wind movement. And when we found it, a gust of wind so strong almost knocked us over. And that night we went back on the Ouija board and they says, "Thank you for visiting my grave." Now that told me something as back then I was a skeptic and a non-believer in some degree that this is real. They do see us, they do hear us, and what this one particular spirit said was true, that we just walk out of our body, and this spirit said, I chose to stay earthbound so I could watch over my daughter. I don't want to go to a light or anywhere else. I want to be here with everyone. And you can't debunk that because
Mhm.
we didn't know where this person was buried. It's fascinating.
Hmm.
And it's more fascinating because she gave us a phone number of the person who killed her in
Hmm.
Brooklyn. And
Wow.
he wanted us to go and kill this person as
Wow.
well. Um, and we didn't want to do it. We said it that night on the Ouija board, we're not doing it. And then all these odd things started happening in the apartment
Mhm.
where the air conditioner fell out the window and we weren't feeling right, and this thickness came through the air. It proves to me that the other side has a lot of power,
Mhm.
a lot of energy, but the energy and power goes off of our intent and it's our belief, and they get stronger off of us in a way where we magnify them, where they can do things to a point of we just
Mhm.
can't comprehend. You
Yeah.
know, our limitations of comprehension go so far. The spirit realm, there's no time. They just they do exist, and sometimes we don't know who we're speaking to, which leads me to a question. Because you and I are both believers in aliens. There's always that question mark of shadow people.
Mhm.
Are shadow people another form of intelligent life that could possibly be other beings?
I always believe that shadow people are interdimensional. Um, they seem like, from the cases that we had, it seemed like they just want to observe you. Um, the people describe them as like, as if they're walking on railroad tracks. They're just kind of moving along, and there's no footsteps, but it's just moving on straight. And they look down, and then when they approach you, when they get close, then they look at you. And I really don't think that shadow people are ghosts or demons for that matter. I think there's some type of interdimensional being from another reality that pop into our reality. And I got to tell you something. I got to ask you too. Have you ever heard of living ghosts?
Living ghost.
A living ghost.
I don't
Yeah.
think I have.
Okay,
No.
I got to tell you this, and this will kind of blow you away. I have a lot of articles that are published with Brad Steiger. Brad Steiger is the best-selling author on the paranormal. And when I was a little boy, I was reading his books because I lived in that haunted house. Anyway, Brad was telling me about living ghosts. And one of the stories that he told me was back in 1974 in Chicago, Illinois, that a couple moved into this home. And as they went into that home, around about 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, they would see um, um, a man manifest, and he would walk over to the couch, and a woman would manifest. And as he approached the woman, got close to her, he slapped her, and
Oh,
then they both dissipated.
wow.
This happened about 3 or 4 times. They went to a block party, and the host of the block party says, "Yeah, we do this all the time. It's an annual thing." He goes, "This is our photo albums of past events of this block party." And so as they were looking at the photograph, the lady stopped at this one photo, and she goes, "This couple here." She goes, "Those are the ghosts in my house." And the host looks at it and goes, "Ghosts in your house? What are you talking about?" He goes, "They did live in your house. The police were there all the time. They had domestic disputes,
Oh,
and they got a divorce. The man lives 5 blocks down. I'm still in touch with them. And the woman lives out of state. They're very much alive." He goes, "They're not dead. They can't be ghosts." But they are, because they produce so much negative energy that they threw into the atmosphere that replays itself over and over and over again. Those are living ghosts. And we actually experience, in some of our investigation, living ghosts.
You
People are
know,
still alive. Yeah.
amazing.
that is amazing. So, is that similar to when you go and do an investigation to a new construction that they say is haunted, but 100 years ago it was an old Victorian home where the family died there, um, but yet you hear people going up and down the stairs, but there's no
Hmm.
stairs. Is that the same thing?
Yeah, it could. Yeah, very well could be. Yeah. One of our cases that we had was Evangeline's, which was a costume shop. And on the third floor back in the 70s, it was called Dio Mills, which was a discotheque. And around about, I don't know, midnight, 2 o'clock in the morning, the some of the employees who are getting things ready for the next day, they would hear disco music. They would hear shuffling of feet. They would hear people laughing. And it's because it's a residual effect that replays itself over and over again. And a lot of those people back in the 70s, they're probably still alive. So there's a lot of living ghosts. It's not intelligent energy. And when we got there, we did hear shuffling of feet, and we did hear some laughter.
Hmm.
And I I don't think it's dead people. I think it's living ghosts.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Living ghost,
I
right?
love that.
And
Well, look, I can't deny that because when we do investigations or we have investigators come to our home, we're getting responses as if
Yep.
they're here, and not only are they here, but it's like they live here.
Yep.
So what he's saying is correct,
Mm-hmm.
and we always been told from the spirits that we can't really grasp, and we're not meant to understand that side till you get to that side
Yeah.
completely, because we're limited. But I believe what he's saying. It makes total sense. Skinwalker Ranch. I want to hear
Oh,
about that.
yes.
Skinwalker.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Okay, I want to tell you really a Skinwalker Ranch. Okay, even though we did an investigation and we didn't actually go to the ranch, we went into the valley. The whole valley is haunted.
Mhm.
Um, when we got there, there was an extreme storm. I mean, that storm was just pounding. There was lightning everywhere. And as we were setting up the tent with this storm going on, I mean, I fell in the mud like 3, 4 times. But anyway, as this storm was going on, we're working on the tent. The only thing that I really saw was ball lightning. I've never seen it before. It was an actual ball. It seemed like the clouds kind of parted and this ball hit the ground and then exploded. And I was just totally amazed at that. I've never seen ball lightning in my whole life. And then we heard this like screeching sound, and it was just really abnormal. And I was recording, but the rain was coming down so hard. The only thing you can hear was the rain.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the next day, one of the investigators caught was very ill and had pneumonia, and we had to head back. So we only spent one night there.
Well, I
Yeah,
wish you guys could see it though.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But I did get some good stories. I recently got a book out. This is one of my books here, and it is called HPI Blind Frog Ranch. And the reason why it's called that is because one of the people that I interviewed out there was talking about this ranch. And I know he was talking about Blind Frog Ranch, which was 25 miles down the road. Well, Blind Frog Ranch is 25 miles down the road. And he was talking about a hidden treasure. He was talking that a long time ago, the giants lived there and they're the ones that hidden the treasure. Um, UFOs are seen there, ghost, poltergeist activity, everything that Skinwalker Ranch, Blind Frog Ranch has.
Mm.
So it's like, I mean, I took all these notes, didn't think very much about it. And then I was digging through my notes not too long ago, and I said, he's talking about Blind Frog Ranch.
Wow.
And yeah, because he wanted me to go down there. And I said, no, I'm here, for Skinwalker. But I wrote an article about it, and I put out this book because a lot of the information he was talking about the giants possibly living on that land and burying that treasure. Then later on, as I'm digging, researching, I find out that Native American Indians say that giants lived on that land. So that guy really knew something, and he said he got the information from an Indian elder. So
Mhm.
a
Wow.
shaman.
Wow.
Yeah.
I have to ask you a question. I'm sure it takes a lot to scare you because of your career. And have you ever really gotten scared on an investigation?
Yeah. Yeah. I have to tell you, okay, there was this demonic case, and I was a new paranormal investigator, brand new, mind you. Okay, so I was kind of naive up here. But anyway, I get this call, and I happen to be in that area. And they said that there's this demon that's manifesting in the hallway, blah, blah, blah. It looks like a black blob and all this other stuff. And I said, okay, I'll check it out. I'll come down there by myself. I learned never go anywhere by yourself. No. So anyway, as I was talking to one of the ladies there, she was telling me, she goes, yeah, this demon appears and everything else. And she says, I get these bite marks from this demon. And she also too lived there with her granddaughter, who was about 30 years old, and she was getting these bite marks. They showed it to me, and I said, "Wow, okay." So this demon is giving them bite marks on their neck, on their shoulders, and stuff like that. I said, "That's kind of odd." And then, at some point in time, this woman who looked really sweet when I got there, this older woman in her 60s, her face distorted and started looking more evil.
Mhm.
And then she goes, Paul, she goes, sometimes I have visions. I said, what are those visions? She goes, I have visions of killing men. Mind
Wow.
you, I was the only man in there. And I thought, okay, well, maybe I better just end this interview because I'm getting kind of creeped out.
Mhm.
And I said, well, but I was curious. I said, how are you killing these men? She goes, with a baseball bat. I said, oh my God. And then, no more than maybe 5 minutes later, I'm looking towards the living room, and the goddaughter is holding the baseball bat, twirling, going around and around with a maniacal look on her face, laughing hysterically.
Oh
I
my.
was out the freaking door. Mind you, I'm not scared of ghosts,
Mhm.
not really too much scared of demons, but I am scared of a 30-year-old woman with a baseball bat.
No,
You know, I've seen people.
that's
Yeah, I've seen people getting taken over,
yeah.
and it is scary.
It
It
is.
is very scary.
Yeah,
I remember this one
we've seen
person;
it.
their eyes turned black, and they were cold, and they had a creepy, creepy laugh, and they told me things that they would never know. Um,
Or
it can frighten you.
yeah,
That's scary. And look, there it is, right?
yeah.
There's the
That is. I would
demonic
say that.
possession coming through, saying, "We know too. We know about you."
Yes.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
scary stuff.
I would say that that is probably the most scariest thing, and the mimicking too. When they're
Mhm.
mimicking you.
And think about how many people are in prison who claim that they heard voices or they were possessed by a demon and that's why they committed these murders. I mean, even look at Son of Sam. Son of Sam says a dog named Sam was
Yeah.
telling him to commit those murders, and he became a very well known serial killer in New York.
Yeah.
Well, there's him. There's Ron DeFeo, who I
Yeah.
believe is truly possessed. I don't care what he was truly possessed because not only did he keep changing the story,
Mhm.
he just never looked right.
Yeah.
And then there's all the things behind in the house, like no one hears a shotgun going off in the
It's
neighborhood,
just weird.
which that's
It's,
great. That's ironic itself. So I do believe what you're saying that there are people put in mental institutions and prisons
mhm.
that some of
Yes.
them have a true case. Like, look, but
And that's been going on for years and years and
that's been
years.
going on a long
So
time
much.
with some of these sick murders. Now, look, there are crazy people out there that will
Yeah.
do heinous things, but there are also cases where people get taken over. If I see someone's eyes turn black, which I did, with a creepy laugh, knowing things about me, and you dealt with the baseball bat person, then so it's telling you that the other side, as I explained earlier with that Ouija board session, has a power that we really don't understand, that they can take over
Yeah.
the human body in
Mhm.
a way where they can make you do these things and
It's a very
walk
scary
out of the
thing
body, and then you're guilty. Guilty.
of whatever crime that you do.
Oh,
No.
Yeah.
yeah. Oh,
What's
yeah.
the most compelling evidence that you've gotten off of a piece of paranormal equipment, or was it through a psychic medium?
Well, I'm very successful in getting EVPs. Okay. And it's not because of me or my investigative skills. I have to give all the credit to my wife. My wife will tell me because she's psychic, and she'll tell me, she goes, Paul, there's a ghost over here. I go, okay. And she'll even describe the ghost, what it's doing, and everything else. And I'll go over there and get an EVP. Now, if she's not around, I have a hard time getting those EVPs, but she's very good at what she became psychic because as a child she was abducted by a UFO.
Wow.
And after that, she starts seeing ghosts and everything. And one of the most incredible things that she did that just blew me away, that I knew before I was even married to her, I knew that then she was a real psychic. We were driving along in Elk Grove, and then she tells me, she goes, Paul, go into that parking lot. Go in the parking lot. I go, why? She goes, just go in there. I go, okay, okay. So I go in there, and she goes, there's something in the sky over there. So I'm looking. I don't see nothing. She doesn't see nothing. She takes her camera, bam, she takes a picture, and there's three disc shaped UFOs. I said, oh my God. And then I put it on the internet, and that photograph was actually published in 14 times because they actually had some ufologists to try to debunk it, and they couldn't debunk it. And then she does it again over at Copperopolis in California, and she goes, there's something in the sky. She takes a picture, and she takes a picture what looks like a portal or a door in the sky. Blew me away. So it's like she's very helpful in my investigations. Otherwise, yeah, if I didn't have her, I would probably be digging ditches or something. So I wouldn't.
Of
Oh,
you work together so well, but differently, but that's how it works.
right,
What do
right,
you say with
exactly.
About
Chelsea?
Chelsea lately. Did you? Yeah, I read that. What happened with Chelsea lately? You were on.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Um, what happened is, okay, her car was haunted
Okay.
by an ex-boyfriend who died,
Okay.
and so she told me the story, and we wrote out the story and we published it. And Paris Hilton thought the story was hilarious, and Paris Hilton, he had a big write up on it, and when he did that, then it went UPI, United Press International,
Okay.
and then Chelsea Lately got a hold of it. Oh, and went into the Daily Mail in England, and then Chelsea Lately, she showed it on TV. And she didn't make fun of us, but she showed it to the audience, and the audience had a good kick
Yeah.
laugh out of it. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
I have to say she is hysterical, but
yeah.
that's yeah, at least she
You know,
talks
yeah,
about it.
yeah. Your work is amazing. What you've been through in your career, we haven't even tapped into your career,
Yeah.
unfortunately, with the end of the show, but we haven't even tapped into it for the listener. Um, it's mind blowing what you've accomplished. People
Well,
can't
thank
accomplish
you so
it.
much. Thank you.
You've accomplished it so
That's
far. And so, can you tell the listener what you have going on, where they can find you, your books, and all that good stuff?
Oh, okay. As for the books, all you have to do is basically Google Paul Dale Roberts books, and they'll pop up everywhere. Um, our website is www.cryptic916.com. Um, we have what's going on. Ghost Adventures or new seasons coming out. You'll see an episode about Auburn, California. You'll see a lot of animals and all this other stuff. Well, that's one of our original cases. And me and my wife were the location scouts for that. You won't see us on there, but we provide them the information for Northern California, and they investigate it and it gets on. That's how I become a location scout. And
wow.
then we got a couple of investigations coming up. This Saturday, we have a demonic one. It was a murder suicide in the house. And then we have one, and that's in Alberta, which is next to the haunted Dyer Lane. Very haunted, urban legend out here. And then we got another investigation over at Clayton, California, and a couple, an elderly couple, died in that house. So
Wow.
it should be pretty interesting. Yeah. So And then my wife, she does magazines, and this is one of her magazines here, and that's my wife right there, Fairy Tale Moon, and it has metaphysical stories, paranormal stories, fashion, celebrity stuff, all kinds of cool stuff. So
Thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah,
And
everyone.
everything's frozen.
I've ever seen
we're going in
before.
and out.
So then the bottom line is we physically die, but we don't spiritually die because we always were, correct?
Right, exactly. Energy you cannot destroy. So I mean, it changes in different other things, but yeah, it's energy's forever.
If someone wanted to, really quick, if someone wanted to contact a loved one who's crossed over and is heartbroken in any sense, which we all have, what would be your best recommendation? Through the dream state, through the meditation state, or just through talking normally?
Yeah, see that my wife would actually give better information on that, but I if you're asking me, probably with meditation.
Meditation.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on Horsefly Chronicles Radio. We definitely
Thank
want to
you.
do part 2. There's a lot of untouched stuff that we didn't
Yeah.
get to. And really quick, Julie, wrap it up.
Well, I want to say thank you to everybody in chat who's Lorraine, thanks for joining us. And special thank you to Carnation for sponsoring the show. We love them. So please join us next Monday night on the United Public Radio Network on 105.3 FM from New Orleans. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Paul, so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you, everyone. Have a safe, great night, and we'll see you next week.
Okay, thank you very much.